Today's lesson, factoring trinomial quadratic expressions. Before we start factoring, let's take a look at some factors of an example for our quadratics. We've got x plus 2 times x plus 3. We're going to simplify this using our FOIL method. There are other ways, but for today's example, we'll use FOIL, and that stands for first, outside, inside, and last. So with my expression here, I'm going to start with first terms, x times x, and that's x squared. Then I'll go to my outside terms, x times 3, which is a positive 3x. Then I'll go to my inside terms, 2 times x is 2x. And then my last terms, 2 and 3. So 2 times 3 is positive 6. So I see I have two like terms, 3x and 2x. So I can combine those. X squared doesn't have any other like terms, so I bring that down. 3x and 2x add together to give us 5x. And a positive 6 comes on down because there's no other like terms to combine it with. So let's look at our factors and our answer and see what we can see in common. Well, I noticed that 2 times 3 is 6. And I also noticed 2 and 3, well, they can add together to give us 5. So our 2 and our 3 are factors of 6, which is our last term here. And 2 and 3 add to get 5, which is our middle coefficient of x. Let's see if that works the same way for another example. Here we have x plus 2 times x plus 8, and we have our answer already for us, x squared plus 10x plus 16. Well, 2 and 8 do multiply together to get 16, our last number. And 2 and 8 also add together to get 10, our coefficient of x here in the middle. So when we have a quadratic trinomial, ax squared plus bx plus c, where a equals 1, and that just means that right here beside x squared, you don't see a number there. 1x squared is the same as x squared, so we really don't write a coefficient. So when you don't see a number in front of x squared, this rule is going to apply. That in our factors, we're going to have two numbers that are factors of our last term, c, that will also add to get the middle coefficient, b. So when our last term is positive, well, we know that they have to multiply to get c. Well, multiplying two positive numbers gives us positive. But also multiplying two negative numbers together gives us a positive answer. So for this we look at b. If b is positive, then we are going to have two positive factors. If b is negative, then you're going to have two negative factors. So we can't add two positive numbers to get a negative. It has to be two negative numbers to add together to get a negative. Let's try one. Here we have x squared plus 9x plus 20. So I see that my b value here is a positive 9. So my factors are going to be positive. I'm going to draw out a table. So I draw a line across and a line down. On the left, I put a multiplication sign, and on the right, an addition sign. And I put my c value above multiplication, 20, and my b value above the addition. Here it's 9. So then I'm going to write out my factors of 20. I know they're both positive, so I don't need to look at negative numbers. I know that 1 times 20 is 20. And if I add those together, I get 21. That's not b. I keep going. Now, if you don't remember how to find factors, one of the things you can do is just divide. Start with 1. So 20 divided by 1 is 20. 20 divided by 2 is 10. So 2 and 10 are factors. And if I add those together, I get 12. 20 divided by 3 is a decimal. Skip it. We don't want it. 20 divided by 4 gives me 5. Now, if I add 4 and 5 together, I do get 9. So that is my answer, and I can stop there. So I know my answer is going to be a positive 4 and a positive 5 in here with x. So x plus 4 times x plus 5 is going to be our answer for our factors. Now, remember, multiplication is commutative. So if I had x plus 5 times x plus 4, it's still the same thing. So whether you write your answer in the same order or not, that's okay. Let's try another one. Here, we have a b value that is negative, which means I can't add two positive numbers to get a negative. They have to both be negative. So I'm only going to look at negative factors of 32. We're going to draw out our table, line across, line down, times and plus, put my numbers above each sign. So I need it to multiply to get 32 and to add to get negative 12. So I start with my negative factors. 32 divided by negative 1 is negative 32. Those add together to get negative 33. 32 divided by negative 2 is negative 16. Those add together to give me negative 18. 32 divided by negative 3, that's a decimal, skip it. 32 divided by negative 4 gives me negative 8. And those two numbers add together to give me negative 12. That's the one I'm looking for. So I can put minus 8 and minus 4 here in my answer choices. Again, the order doesn't matter which one goes first as long as they're both there. So x minus 4 times x minus 8 is our factors. All right, you try one. Our c value is positive. Our b value is negative. So that means our factors are going to be negative. Draw out your table and find your factors for this one. Pause the video right here and we'll check our answers in a moment. All right, so you should have your answer to this one. Let's check it and see if we are right. We draw out our table with 12 above our multiplication sign, negative 7 above addition. And we find our factors. When you get down the list, we have, let's see, negative 1, negative 12, negative 2, negative 6, negative 3, negative 4. And that's the set that multiplies together to get 12. And negative 3 plus negative 4 plus negative 3 equals negative 7. So that is our answer. It does not matter what order you put it in as long as you have x minus 4 as one factor and x minus 3 as the other. If you got that one right, give yourself a pat on the back. If not, that's okay. We still have some more practice. Next, let's look at what happens when our c value is negative. So, to get a negative number from two numbers that are multiplied together, they can't both be positive, they can't both be negative. They have to have one positive and one negative number. So, here, to give us a little hint, we look at b. If our b value is positive, well, the bigger number has to be positive when you add them together. So our big number is going to be added, and our little number will be subtracted. And a way to think about this is your b, well, b could also stand for big. So whatever you see here, a plus b, when c is negative, well, we're adding the bigger number. If we look at the next one, where b is negative, well, if b is negative, you have to take away more than you have. So our big number has to be the one that is subtracted. So minus b minus big can help you remember you subtract the big number, you add the little number. Let's see this in action. Here we have x squared plus 5x minus 24. So I see that c is negative, so I'm going to have one factor that's added and one that's subtracted. b is positive, so b positive, that means my bigger number is going to be added. The big number will be positive, my little number will be a negative. So let's try this out. We're going to draw our table, put in our multiplication and addition signs. They have to multiply to negative 24 and add to positive 5. So I know my little factor is negative. So instead of starting with 1 for dividing by, I start with negative 1. So negative 24 divided by negative 1 gives me 24. I add those together and I get 23. Not what I'm looking for. I go to the next one. Negative 24 divided by negative 2 gives me 12. If I add those together, I get 10. Negative 24 divided by negative 3 gives me positive 8. Now if I add those together, I get 5. So I can stop here. I found what I'm looking for. So I know that a negative 3 and a plus 8 is going to go here in my factors. So one of them will be plus 8. The other will be minus 3. Again, doesn't matter which order you put them in, as long as one factor shows x plus 8, the other shows x minus 3. Let's try another example. X squared minus 4x minus 12. Here, c is negative, so I know I have one factor that will be added and one subtracted. Here, because b is negative, my bigger number is going to be my negative 1. So let's draw out our table. Write in our numbers. So I need factors of negative 12 that add up to negative 4. I know my bigger number is going to be the negative 1. So my little number, I can start out with dividing by 1. Negative 12 divided by 1 is negative 12. And then I add those two numbers together is negative 11. Negative 12 divided by 2 is negative 6. If I add those numbers together, I get negative 4. That's what I'm looking for, so I don't have to go any further. So I know I'm going to have a plus 2 and a minus 6 here in my factors. So as long as I have an x minus 6 and an x plus 2, again, doesn't matter what order they're in, as long as they're both there. All right, you try one. Pause our video here. Really quickly though, just a hint before you start, since we've got a minus in front of c, we want one positive, one negative. Our b value is negative, which means our big factor will be negative, our little factor positive. Pause the video here, get your answer, hit play when you're ready to check. All right, we should have our answer to this one. Let's check it. So we should have drawn out our table. And this should say negative 4 about that. Sorry about that, guys. Bear with me just a moment. Let me fix that. All right. Sorry about that. Now it's fixed. So negative 5 over multiplication, negative 4 over addition. That's our c and b values respectively. And I know that since my b is negative, my big factor is going to be negative. My little factor will be positive. So negative 5 divided by 1 is negative 5. And I don't have to go any further than that because those add to negative 4. So if I had forgotten that the little factor was going to be positive and my big factor was negative, all I do is keep going. So divided by 2, decimal, 3, decimal, 4, decimal. Negative 5 divided by 5 is negative 1. So 5 plus negative 1 is positive 4, wrong sign. So that would be the only difference here. If I had forgotten my trick, is I would have to keep going a little bit further. So here, for my answer, we had 1 and negative 5. So x minus 5, x plus 1, again, doesn't matter which order as long as they're both there. All right, so last thing we need to talk about is our multiple choice method. We actually have some shortcuts here. We've got numbers already, so we don't have to start out and figure it out. What we need to do is figure out which two multiply to get c and add to b. So I usually draw out my table here just on the end of my answer choices. And we have a times and plus. We want them to multiply to get negative 72 and add to negative 6. So I start out with 12 and 6. Well, 12 times 6 is 72. That's not negative. That doesn't work. I don't have to add because it's not an option anyway. So I go to my next one. Negative 18 and positive 4 do give me negative 72. So I got this. Now I need to add them together. Negative 18 plus 4 is negative 14. That's not what I need. I try the next one. 12 and negative 6 is negative 72. That got me this answer, so I need to try this one. If I add those two numbers together, I get positive 6. The sign is not the same, so that doesn't work. If I look at D, negative 12 times positive 6 is negative 72. They add together to get negative 6. That's the one I'm looking for. So, with multiple choice, you can look at the numbers you're given. You don't have to come up with the factors on your own. So it is a nice shortcut that we can use. You try one. Take a look at this one and try this here. Pause the video and hit play when you're ready to check your answer. All right, we should have our answer here for this last example. For our table, we should be drawing that out with our times and our plus. You need to multiply to get to negative 18 and add to positive 7. So let's take our numbers here. 2 times 1 is 2, not negative 18. I can skip it, go to the next one. 2 times 9 is positive 18, not negative. Skip it, go to the next one. Negative 2 times 9 is negative 18. Good, that's a match. Let's try addition. Negative 2 plus 9 is positive 7. And that is my final answer. All right, great job, guys.